Hi, everybody. Welcome to our fourth week of CAASPP test prep. We are so excited to have you, and we're so grateful for you taking your precious time to join us for preparing your scholars for our state assessment season, which is coming up fast and furiously. And we're just so thankful that you're willing to join with us and make sure that your scholars are prepared. Our agenda today is to review our mission and vision, our values. We're going to go over how to plan for and prep for the English language arts section of the CAASPP assessment, and we'll share a little resources review. So our mission and vision statement, our mission is to inspire and develop innovative, creative, self-directed learners, one scholar at a time in partnership with you. Our vision is to create a collaborative virtual learning community, inspiring scholars to appreciate the ways in which arts and sciences nurture a curiosity for lifelong learning and prepare your scholars to take responsibility for future success. Undergirding those mission and vision statements are our core values, which are achievement, and that's just focusing on taking charge and ownership of your scholars' learning, or if you're an older scholar, you're developing into taking ownership of your own learning. Respect is being respectful to everybody around you. It's considering others, considering how things are going to impact others before you do them, whether it's in communication or action. Teamwork is working together as a team. There's a cooperative team that involves counselors and teachers and STs, or I should say, or STs, the learning coaches, family members, parents, and the scholar, as well as maybe other members, depending on what is needed to make sure that your scholar is supported. That entire team has to work together and needs to communicate in order for your scholar to be successful. Integrity involves just being honest, and again, that consideration piece. I think of integrity as really wrapping achievement, respect, and teamwork all into a beautiful package, because if you're considering others, you're going to have integrity. You're going to be truthful. You're going to be considering other people's, how the impact on other people. And then finally, all of these things undergird great communication. Because if you're doing these things, you're going to have considerate communication that enables you to be proactive with all the people involved in your education. And I did not change that slide, but here we go. Give you a second to kind of peruse that. All right, and what we are going to be doing today is looking at how to plan for the English language arts portion of the CAASPP assessment. So ELA stands for English Language Arts. You might hear it referred to the English portion of the CAASPP or just the ELA portion of the CAASPP. There are two parts to the ELA CAASPP portion of the assessment. One is the CAT, which is Computer Adaptive Test, and one is the PT, which stands for Performance Task. In this section in the performance task section of the ELA assessment, you'll be reading short passages, you'll be practicing and then using textual evidence to answer questions. And some questions actually might be multiple choice or short responses. Others may require you to write a long essay response. So a few things to just be prepared for as you're thinking about preparing for the ELA portion of the CAASPP assessment. So here are a few assessment tips. And the reason it says tip number 2 is because in the beginning of our CAASPP assessment prep, we went through a whole list of assessment tips. And now we're highlighting specific ones that directly impact certain portions of the CAASPP assessment. So today what we'll be highlighting, or right now what we're highlighting, is tip number 2, which is, and if you were in class with me, I'd say, read it out loud. Read each question very carefully. And that can include highlighting That can include using the strike through tool so that you just are paying attention to the most key information. That can include a lot of different strategies, but you want to be reading each question carefully. You want to look at the action words. So highlight, summarize, correct, explain, drag and drop, select, write a response, identify, revise, describe, support. So all of those are action words that you actually may see in your performance task during the ELA portion of the assessment. You want to pay really close attention to these words because they are giving you the clues as to what you're going to have to do before you can leave that full page. And you might have multiple questions on one single page utilizing several of these. So you want to read those really carefully. So the first thing you want to do is read each question carefully, because the next thing you want to do is find out actually what you need to do for that question. And again, it could be any of these. So the performance task is a portion of the assessment that will require each of you to answer a set of questions centered on a common topic or some kind of real world problem. So the question measures capacities such as how deep is your understanding of this topic? How well can you research? How are your writing skills? And or complex analysis of with relevant evidence. So you're going to analyze a body of writing, and then you might be asked to look for my tongue is all tied up. You might be asked to look for relevant evidence to support a specific claim that somebody has made based on a piece of text. So don't just assume that because they make the claim and they say it's based on that piece of text that it's actually true. You're going to be asked to go in and support what it is they might be claiming and find evidence in that text. And evidence isn't an opinion, right? Evidence is actually fact. So practicing even in your daily life, and you're looking at the news, is that an opinion or is it actually a fact? Does it just sound like a fact, but really it's an opinion? Sometimes opinions hide themselves as facts and they make themselves look really similar. So those are things to look for and start practicing even in your daily interactions to prep yourself for taking the ELA portion of the assessment. It's designed to provide each of you with an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to apply your knowledge and higher order thinking skills to explore and analyze complex scenarios. So just think about that as you're practicing. And I say make your practice fun. It doesn't actually have to be just getting in there with the performance task. It can be out and about during daily conversation, LCs, as you're talking with your scholars. Have them start to analyze, is this fact or is this opinion? What do you think about this? Can you support it with evidence? If you were to try to support it with evidence, how would you research it? Just getting those brainwaves thinking about all of those different processes is so important, and it helps to prepare for this assessment. So you'll need to integrate research and writing to explain, narrate, or support your opinion for specific evidence. And I will say that sometimes a great way to practice those writing skills is to pick a chunk of writing at your grade level or above your grade level and just read it and copy it. Read it and copy it, because that starts to program your brain to recognize what excellent writing looks like. So here's some additional tips for ELA. So one of the things we talked about is reading the question first, then the passage, then reading the question again. So I'm going to repeat that. You read the question first, not pursed, but first. So read the question first, go back and look and read through the passage carefully, then read through the question again. If we were in class, I'd say, well, why do you think we're doing that? Well, we're doing it because it gives your brain a benchmark. So when you read a question first, It tells your brain what it wants to highlight when it's reading through the material. Then when you go back to look at the question, your brain has something that it's highlighted to help you answer that question. Believe it or not, your brain works that way. It's kind of fun. Watch for questions with 2 parts. So make sure that you've looked and made sure there aren't sections to those questions. Use the strike through tool like we talked about to cross out wrong answers or even information that you don't find necessary. Write in complete sentences. So remember a subject and a predicate, right? So you want to make sure that you have complete sentences. Answer the who, the what, the why, the when, the where. And maybe even just in daily conversation, Elsies, you're practicing that. You know, it might feel kind of goofy, but just practice that with your scholar. Okay, so who? Well, what? And why? When did it happen? Where did it happen? And you can make it fun and goofy and just practice while you're out and about during the day. Watch for context clues. So something can have a whole different meaning when you put it in the context of its surroundings, right? And that means for anything. If a chair is just a chair, if you look at it, could be what seems to be a really ugly chair, but then you stick it in a whole room full of antiques and specific colors, and all of a sudden that chair becomes an accent piece. So make sure that you look for the context. That might not have been an example that resonated with very many people, but just the idea that you're looking for the surrounding context. Review your answers before moving on. So answer it, do all these steps, and then go back and review it. And if your brain feels a little locked down, like you can't quite process it again or process it differently, you can always go back. You can mark it for review and go back and look at it with fresh eyes later on. Sometimes even later questions will make you realize that you didn't answer that earlier question the way you hoped. Use the highlight tool to mark the evidence in the passage. So again, using those tools like the strike through or highlight to identify key information is really important. So those are just some really great tips we have when you're navigating the ELA portion of your assessment. So we wanted to give you a link where you can look at a sample question. This sample question specifically is on the performance task. We're going to go ahead and show it to you. And this is a 6th grade sample item. So it'll look a little different if your scholar is in 2nd grade or if your scholar is in 8th grade or in high school. Obviously, there's going to be a complexity difference, but this is just to give you an idea of what your scholar might encounter in the performance task. And I apologize that I'm looking off to the right now. I actually have the screen share for you set on a second screen. And so I'm taking a look at this as we're talking. So this is talking about hiking in the Grand Canyon. And it gives instructions here that are very clear. So if I was to have you live in the class, I'd be asking you, and we'll probably do some of this practice on Friday of next week. Your school writing club is holding a short story contest about the great outdoors. Okay, so the first thing that is a really important word I would hope that you'd highlight if I was asking you would be short story. Okay, so they're going to be talking about the great outdoors. You've often thought about hiking and you wonder what it would be like to hike in the Grand Canyon National Park. You decide to do more research, is another word there, about hiking in the Grand Canyon. As part of your initial research, you find other sources about the Grand Canyon and hiking. So after you've reviewed these sources, you will answer some questions about them. Briefly skim the sources and the questions that follow. You'll go back and read the sources carefully. So read the sources carefully, and you will have the information you will need to answer the questions and finalize your research. You may click on the global notes button and take notes on the information you find. So the global notes button is right here. So if you click on that, you're actually able to take notes as you read these sources. Now I'm having trouble with getting it to close up. I apologize. I'm not sure why it's struggling. So let's refresh it and see what happens. So the nice thing with the global notes button is it actually saves your notes. So you can take notes on that little online page as you're reading through. So anything that you think is important, you can put on the notes. You can move it to the side. I apologize that it wasn't functioning quite right here, but you can move it to the side and then you can use it as you're answering your questions. So I highly, highly suggest that you avail yourself of that wonderful tool and use the notes as you're working your way through some of these textual evidence types of questions. So another thing I wanted to show your LCs, each of you LCs, is this resource called the Bump It Up resource. We will put this resource on the document that we share every week so that you can work on it at home. I'm just going to give you an example and show you what it looks like. So this resource is actually to help your scholar practice essay writing. It gives you 3 examples of essays. One is an essay that would be scored on a low scale. One is an essay that would be medium. And then another essay is an example of a really well done essay. It also gives you all of the rubric points that would be used in order to score these essays. Finally, it gives you a spot down here at the bottom of the resource, and we're going to provide these links for you on the resource document. So it gives you a spot down here to score these essays and give evidence as to why you're giving those scores. So we will be sharing in the resource document a copyable, usable format of this tool for you to be able to use at home and do together. On Friday, when you come, feel free to bring this document with you and we can have a little bit of a discussion about it. If you had any areas of confusion, you were wondering how to score a certain thing, just bring it along. It would be fun to have that discussion with all of you. All right, so finally, this is that document. Whoops, let me go back here. I apologize. So finally, this is that document that I keep referencing that has all of the resources on a weekly basis. So we will be sharing this slide deck below the YouTube video, as well as sharing it again on Friday as we do our live session. When you click on this document, anything and everything that we share during our sessions will be added, as well as the recordings as we progressively work through our assessment prep. So this is a wonderful document to bookmark. If you don't know how to bookmark, you can easily just go right up here, click on the star, and you can actually create a folder. So maybe you would entitle it, so you'd go under bookmarks and you would entitle it CAASPP Prep. So you'd click bookmarks, new folder, and then you can entitle the folder CAASPP Prep and keep the resources that we give you under that folder, and you would find them really easily. And finally, we have an exit ticket. So if you would be so kind as to complete this exit ticket at the end of this session while you're watching it, we'd be grateful. It's an easy form. It helps us know if there's anything that we should be covering that we're missing. It gives us feedback to know if we're meeting the needs or missing the needs and how to fix it. And we really, really want this to be useful for you. We look forward to seeing you on Friday. We also want to start advertising that we will be holding a parent night where you can come and ask any and every question. It's a different setting and it'll be in the evening. So all of you working during the day LCs that really struggle to make it here, or all of you LCs that are out and about doing action type school-based things, that evening session can be really useful and valuable. So keep an eye out for that. All right, we are so grateful you took your time to watch our video, and we look forward to seeing you in person on Friday. If you have any questions prior to that time, you can contact any of us. These will also be linked on the slide deck that will be underneath the video in our YouTube area of the school. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. We will see you on Friday. Bye.